I would like to apologize. The live is cutting now. It's the third time. I would really like to apologize for everyone who's joining us. I really don't know what's happening with the connection. But I hope we can get through the next half hour without being interrupted. When we talk about going back to the basics and trying to put a sense of predictability in our daily routine and take it day by day, it's also what is important as well, because when we cannot predict it, it worsens the sense of trauma and of grief. Another important point that we have to consider is also immobility. The fact, if you're feeling very very down and you're letting the grief and the sorrow and you're feeling overwhelmed and you're feeling scared, our initial reaction would be to just sit and not do anything, which is very, very understandable, because it's the first reaction. It's our first instinct is to do that. However, we have to get moving. Okay, we have to get moving because we have to let our body know. We have to let our bodies know that we are not, we have to go over the shock period. Okay, so even if you cannot go out right now, there are very good exercises online, it doesn't have to be anything, drastic, but it definitely helps to move around, to release the endorphins, to boost our immunity system. We can do 20 minutes, 30 minutes a day, and this will help us, cope with uncertainty and have a sense of control over what's happening in our lives. Another point that is really very important, when the social distancing rule started, a lot of people felt very disconnected because we're used to hanging out together, to see our loved ones, our friends, and this is it was very traumatic for some people to think, okay, social distancing, now I can't be with my friends. The most impacted population, if you want, are the teenagers, of course, because their peers are so important to them. They're finding it very, very difficult to cope right now with this situation. So although social distancing is very necessary, it's mandatory at this stage, it doesn't have to be just because we're physically distancing, we don't have to be disconnected. Like right now we're doing a video. There are so many apps that are available now for us to be able to connect with our loved ones, even outside of the country. We're being disrupted again. Sorry about that again. So we're talking about our need. We are social creatures. We really need to feel connected at all times. And the social platforms, the social media platforms are now making this very, very possible for all of us. Another thing that is another point that is very, very important in dealing with uncertainty is self-care. Because if we can't take care of ourselves properly, we cannot take care of people that are around us, especially with the increased demands, with the increased responsibilities. Maybe what I'm going to discuss with you right now is going to sound very simplistic. It is in a way simplistic, but again, I cannot emphasize enough that going back to the basics is very important at this stage. Sleeping 7 to 8 hours, eating properly. You know, now a lot of people are video recording themselves cooking on social media, and this is creating like a wave, you know, of solidarity. There's the banana bread challenge, you know, so many different things that people are being creative about, and that is very, very helpful, you know, cooking healthy food, clean food, you know, because people are scared from ordering from outside. Anyway, the restaurants are not functioning. So we're back. We are in a way forced to go back to doing things that we haven't done in a long time. I'm not sure if people are hearing me. I'm still here though. So if you can still hear me, please say something. Okay, I'm going to proceed. So, I'm back. So, health, self-care, okay? Eating properly, resting, sleeping the 7 to 9 hours. No, it depends on each person. Journaling. Keeping a routine as similar as possible to your old routine, connecting with loved ones. A lot of people are sharing meals via apps like Skype and Zoom. These are things that are very, very important to continue doing, to continue having this sense of community. We are not alone. This is really a global pandemic. It has hit everyone. I remember, you know, some of the people that are in my family were like, why are we quarantined? And I had to remind them, you know, we are all going through this. It's not like we are the ones that are being punished, because the perception is we're being punished, we're being locked down. But everyone is, and it's for everyone's safety. Talking about going back to the grief cycle, we spoke about shock, we spoke about denial, anger, bargaining, sadness, the feeling a bit depressed and feeling you know, very down, and then the acceptance. There's Professor David Kessler has added a sixth stage to it, which is meaning, making sense of meaning. We as human beings do better when we find meaning in what's happening, when we can find cause and effect to what's happening. And this is a big change. We have never been confronted to something like this. So finding meaning in what's happening and being forced to slow down, I think maybe not right away, not while we're in this crisis, but maybe when this crisis is over and we are, you know, inshallah, healthy and we have survived it, I think finding meaning is very important. Some people are finding meaning with helping others, you know, our doctors, nurses, healthcare providers are finding meaning now more than ever, because they're trying to save everyone, they're trying to keep everyone alive. Finding meaning also in practicing kindness and compassion with others, with our neighbors, our loved ones. Finding meaning in working on ourselves to be a bit more patient with what's happening. All of these are skills that we may not necessarily have looked at before or even thought that we would be needing. I mentioned earlier resilience. You know, the fact resilience is our ability to bounce back from adversity as quickly and as quickly as possible, but also in a good way, and not the fake resilience, like everything's fine, I'm happy, I'm not affected. There is a difference between this fake resilience and you know, the resilience that takes time, because you know, some people are born with are more prone to being resilient. It's part of their character, it's part of their personality. That does not mean that people who are less resilient cannot build on that skill. It can also be an acquired skill if we consciously make a decision to work on it. So resilience is learned again through childhood by observing how our parents bounce back from difficult events in their lives. The loss of a family member, the loss of a job, moving countries. People who have lived through war-torn countries would be able to relate to what I'm talking about now, and how they have built this resilience. I think people right now who have been through something that was as traumatic to them as this period would understand what I'm talking about. I'm sorry that you can't hear me or see me. Yeah, I think I'm lagging because of the connection. Here the connection, I can see that it shows that it's working well, so I don't understand how I can fix it for now. I'm really sorry about that. I apologize. Okay. So going back to discussing resilience, I think now is a good time to practice how to be a little bit more resilient, and we will definitely come out of this, whether we are conscious of it or not, having built better resilience skills, right? So I think this is important to know, that some things will happen once we're out of this crisis. You will find new skills in yourselves and new meanings to your lives, because now we can see that most of us are living quite well with the bare minimum. This is not to say that we don't have to self-actualize. Of course we have to, but right now this is what is needed from us. You know, talking about a loss of predictability and loss of things that are planned. A lot of people are struggling a lot with not being able to travel, you know, travel plans. This is what I'm mostly hearing complaints about, that we can't, our trip is canceled, our vacation is canceled. You know, also, I mean, I hear my kids complaining, are we going to travel? Are we going to travel? And I keep reminding them, yes, traveling is a wonderful experience. And it's, you know, taking a break from work, from school is, of course, very important. But this is not the most important right now. The most important right now is to make sense of what's happening, to develop this sense of agency, that we still can, you know, manage things even though things are completely out of control. Okay, so let's try to focus on what can be done without focusing a bit less on the things that we are losing. There's a very important study also that was done in the 70s by Dr. I think, if I remember her name correctly, Dr. Paula Boss, which talks about ambiguous loss. And this is a bit similar to what we're experiencing, because ambiguous loss means that we feel that we're losing something, but we don't know what this thing is. So this is a sense of major loss, but we still cannot pinpoint it, which makes it more difficult for us to have a sense of closure or to understand or even to go through the grief cycle quite smoothly. And this is what this pandemic is about, because no one can tell us what's going to happen next. And most of the efforts from governments, from people who are responsible for making decisions that impact our community are being taken step by step and not rushed into, which is something very important. I also wanted to suggest a few books. For those of you who know me, you know how much, I'm a lot into reading and increasing, expanding the mind through reading important books that are life-changing, I hope. This is one of the books that I recommend to everyone, and I think this is very needed at this stage. It's called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl. I hope you can all see it. I'm not sure if you can all see it or not. Yeah, there it is. Okay, Viktor Frankl is talked about, when we are confronted with a situation that makes no meaning for us, we can create this meaning. When one of his famous quotes is, when we are not able to change the situation, we have to change the way we respond to the situation. And this is exactly what's happening right now. Okay, another book that also is highly recommended, it's by Bessel van der Kolk, and this is very, very important for people who are going through trauma such as this one. It's called The Body Keeps Score. I don't know if you guys can see it. This is also a masterpiece and one of the best sellers in the world of trauma. And I think this will be very, very helpful as well. Okay, I'm just double checking. That everyone can hear me or see me. The third one, which is a bit heavy to read, but also, this is for people who are in the mental health field, which is called Traumatic Stress, the Effects of Overwhelming Experience on Mind, Body, and Society. And I think this is very helpful. It's quite dense. It has a lot of information. But also for people who are interested in learning a bit more about traumatic stress, I think they will find this book to be a great resource. Now, I'm not able to see some of your questions, so I don't know if you're still asking some questions about dealing with uncertainty, about knowing that whatever you're feeling now is very, very normal. It's a normal reaction. It's within we are built to react to threat and adversity and danger. This is what has kept us alive. And this is now, whatever you're feeling, the ambivalence, the overwhelmed with anxiety, with stress, is a very, very normal reaction. And I want you to take the time to recognize that, because this is very important. Imagine that we're all going through this very difficult time and not being able to not having the emotional capacity to react. So this is very, very important. People are saying that, hold on. Okay. Hello. I'm really not sure, because I can still, it's showing that I'm still live, but I'm not sure about what's happening. Are we back? And we're back. This is the fourth time, but still we will continue this session. I'm really sorry about that. I can't tell you enough how sorry I am for our session being disrupted this way. I'm not sure you were even able to hear my discussion about resilience and going through the grief cycle. Can someone just tell me if... Oh, thank you. I'm trying my best. But can someone, those of you who were present before we got cut off, were you able to hear me speaking about resilience and trauma? Do you have any questions? Because I'm not sure it was being recorded at that time. Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm sorry that you were not able to hear that. Shall we go over it one more time? Do you think it will be helpful? What do you think? Should we talk about the grief cycle again? Okay, let's just talk about, because I'm not getting any comments, so I am assuming that you were able to hear me when I was talking about this. Going back to self-care and why it's important. Again, we talk about the importance of self-care, and I'm sure my colleagues, the people who have presented before me during other sessions also emphasized on that right now, in order for us to manage our emotions and our emotional needs, psychological needs, we have to first manage properly our physical needs, which is rest, sleep, healthy eating, moving around, even if it's not in the context of exercising, moving around. It could be anything. It could be yoga. It could be, mindfulness practice. It could be relaxation. It could be anything just to get our bodies moving. There was a question earlier about how our bodies, how stress impacts immunity, and how that in return, causes us to experience more sickness, which is completely accurate, 100% right. So keeping our body moving is also helping maintaining good immunity system. And practices such as yoga, Pilates, mindfulness. I know this is not on the psychology spectrum, but it's also very important because we tend to think of mental health from very different perspectives, and we try to integrate them to have the best practice possible. So self-care is very important, and when you show self-care to the people that you live with, you teach them as well to care for themselves. A big shout out to kids, they are to our children now. I'm not sure if some of you have children or not, but they're being quite courageous, and they're showing us more resilience. They're probably more resilient than adults in these times of difficulty. They're showing a lot of resilience, adapting easily to online schooling and so on. And also a big shout out to the teachers and the academic system who has put in place, very, very quickly. They responded very quickly to the crisis to enable our children, to continue their school year, their academic year with the least impact possible. Another big thank you to our healthcare providers, nurses, doctors, who also, I think, need also to self-care a lot, and there needs to be a session just for them, because they are mostly confronted with the biggest part of this pandemic. There are so many positive things that we can focus on that will help us go through the negative, not necessarily deny the negative, but help us go through the negative, which is, if you're in good health, you have protective factors, you still haven't lost your income, you still have access to medical care, you still have access to food. Initially we were so worried about food shortage. Focus on these things rather than focus on what is lacking, but focusing more on what is available to us, and be grateful for that, because really we are living in I don't want to say privilege, but definitely more privileged than other parts of the world. I would also like, before we close, because our session is ending in a few minutes, I would like to thank again at Happy UAE, the National Campaign for Happiness and Well-Being, for all their efforts. They've started this campaign immediately after the lockdown to reach out to the community, to show the importance of mental health through this crisis, and continuously, I think after the crisis, they have put together, they have mobilized a lot of mental health professionals, a lot of experts in the field to help support the community, and it was an amazing effort never seen before in the UAE. Again, I'm gonna say I have been here more than a decade, and this is the first time that this mental health community is mobilized in an amazing way. Someone is saying that their mother is feeling emotionally burnt out. It's very, very common, because mothers right now are multitasking. This is the first time stay-at-home moms and working moms are multitasking and probably not having enough time to recharge and self-care, which is why it's very important to do so. We haven't mentioned the fathers, which are also doing an amazing job with their kids, also helping, sharing these tasks now that the kids are at home is very, very important. Who's gonna do what? Who's gonna take care of homework today? Who's gonna prepare the meals? These things, if they are done in a way where, we are in agreement, they can be, they can have a positive impact on the family. Yes, I'm reading. Yes, of course, this is a very difficult time. Not only mother, no, that's not what I meant to say. Parents in general, fathers as well. It's very difficult for them to be in lockdown right now because they're used to a different routine, but they can create a similar routine. Not necessarily, for example, if you're used to going to the gym before you go to work, you can bring gym inside your house and have this hour for yourself, I think really, from what I've seen since the lockdown, our adaptability, how adaptive we are, has been really, phenomenal. We are more adaptive and we are more resilient than we think we are, even when we don't feel it. And even if we feel that we may not necessarily feel positive every day. Again, if you had kept a journal, you would see how things are evolving throughout the weeks of this lockdown. Doing everything. Yes, mothers, how to look forward for the future with the situation, please. Thank you. Again, we have to focus on what we can control, not things that are out of our control, because this can be very frustrating. Okay, focus on things, doing things with moderation, day by day. This is the only step forward. And if you talk to anyone who's been through this kind of trauma, this kind of adversity before, they would tell you that the best way to move forward is to really take it day by day. Some days we will feel much better than other days. It's okay. On the days when you're not feeling very well, allow yourself to feel whatever it is that you're feeling. It's very important. We are a community, a society that encourages thinking about your feeling. Feelings are meant to be felt. They are not meant to be thought of and overanalyzed. The moment we start thinking about our feelings, we don't allow them to happen. This is what our body is requesting from us. When we don't allow them to happen, they get short-circuited, and then they create a lot of physical pain. We have to allow the feelings to happen. Take 5 minutes. I'm not saying dwell on it, take the whole day. Whatever you need, take the time to feel your feelings, okay? Sometimes we don't know how to label them, and that is okay. It is important to label them, but before that, it's important to feel them, okay? I think this is very, very important. Another question is it normal to have an increase? Yes, absolutely. I mean, this is a point, because we kept being cut off, I was not able to talk about people who have had previous traumas and how this situation is reactivating the trauma, the past experiences of trauma. Absolutely. A lot of people are experiencing nightmares because of their loss of sense of security. And this is very common. I think how to handle them is just to recognize and go back and see what is triggering, what is the previous traumatic experience that you've been through before, and how it is activating, it's triggering you now, and what has helped you in that time of the trauma happened to come out of it. Of course, it's very, very common. Even people who have not experienced trauma or adversity in the past are reporting increased number of nightmares. You know, this is very, very important. I really like this live. Thank you for it, and thank you for happy. Yes, absolutely. Again, I wish we hadn't been interrupted so frequently, but this is the best that we could do for today. I think we are going to be cut off in exactly 1 minute. I hope this was helpful. Again, normalize what you're going through. Not everything we're going through has to be pathologized. And if you feel that things are getting out of control, please reach out. Professional help is available in the UAE for all communities, for people from different nationalities, Arabic speakers, English speakers, French speakers. Help is available. Okay, so please do not hesitate to reach out for you or for someone that you care for, that you feel needs help. We are available, okay? And hope to see you soon. No, thank you for bearing with me due to technological challenges. Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Bye.